It's Thursday, January 25th. Another cold intro here on the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. It is available in both original and variety 12 packs, a great pack size for entertaining and hanging out with friends. Matt Iwanyk with you here. Tom Gazol, he's down at the rink because it is an Oiler game day. They were taking on the Chicago Blackhawks looking for win number 15 in a row, which means the Oil Stream pregame show coming up later tonight with Tommy and YouTube Trev at 5:30. Joining us today, we've got Joaquin Gage, your honor, as well as two guys and a goalie coming up at noon today. And a friend of EST, Crush Performance. You catch it Wednesdays at 7 right here on Edmonton Sports Talk on our audio channel. Jeff Krushell joining us.
Hey,
Jeff, it's great seeing you again.
You guys as well? Hot takes are back, baby.
Hot takes are back. We've got a judge, and he's got the full headwear now and the little gavel.
And I actually wasn't as late as it appeared. I was sitting in the parking lot because I didn't want to miss hot takes.
That's good. That's good.
You were here before the start of the show, and that's all. We've got Hernan this week came a little bit later. So did Min. So we've never had both guests come a little late, but that's the beauty of the Hangout. You just come and go as you need. We've had people leaving to take a meeting call or a work call in the middle of the Hangout.
Love it.
It's just what it is.
Not me yet. I'm a professional. Professional hanging out.
Professional hanging out.
With your slippers on.
I've made it.
You know how to do it.
I've really become comfortable here. I've got a cubby. I take my slippers. You know, you got to, when you're going to do this, I think comfort's a big, it provides me to be my best. I think.
Yeah, I like it.
You've gone to where we should all be going in this building.
Yeah.
Like you've taken that step that we should all have our own slippers.
I can't believe
just be very comfortable.
Well, we were kind of discussing some apparel.
Yeah, we'll need to look for EST slippers because those would be great.
That would be great.
EST get the full like robes, silk robes, EST on the back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get, what are those night things that you put on your head with
my wife? Well, she got some from my son's friend got her a gift. It's the onesie something. It's like a hoodie, but it's all fleecy inside.
Yeah. Is that the way? Like it's like the Snuggie or whatever?
It's not a Snuggie, but it's like way more like substantial than the Snuggie. So yeah, that's something like that would be great. I think those would be nice to watch a game in the dead of winter when it's -40.
Yeah.
Now, I just have a quick question about hot takes. What was the ruling towards Trev?
He had to bring a drink of his colleague's choice for a week until the next hot takes.
Okay, so all of next week. He's got to, and I guess tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
If somebody wants a drink when he's coming in, he's got to provide.
He has to provide the drink. So,
whoa, I love it. Hey, so now we got to expand the clarification here. Who qualifies as a colleague? Would I happen to qualify? Would I happen to qualify
Jeff
as a
showing up
colleague?
every week, every day.
I'll be here every day, man.
It's 80 people
Trev.
outside.
Garçon.
No, it's I mean, I guess if you showed up, and I consider you a colleague now. So.
Oh, excellent. How about Mimosa Wednesday?
Ooh, a drink. You said drink of choice.
I said drink of choice.
I immediately went to morning, Bailey's and Irish cream and coffee, and
I just thought
Mimosa Wednesday. I just went Mimosa Wednesday is the first thing I thought of, or Beer Mosa Wednesday.
Oh, we've got a lot of beer here.
Yeah.
But we could use some more. You can never have enough. We've got Mott's Clamato, but we could always use some more. But a different type of thing every day.
I'm just saying,
like Margarita Monday.
The Pandora's box is open. Sorry, Trev. You're in big trouble. You can't forget the glove. Let's go.
Well, like, that's the thing. Like, well, it's also one of those where you're hurting is... I'm sure you will say it didn't take into account in your scoring with him. But you want to know something? Human nature says that right off the bat, that's in people's minds. And that's in everyone. And as
an unconscious bias, perhaps.
As people are listening, like all the nasties listening, I guarantee you Trev's takes were a little lower because in their mind, they're thinking, this guy forgot the mitt. Yeah. You just put yourself behind the eight. This guy's going for 3 in a row. Why would you do that to yourself? Why would you put yourself in that position where you could have a judge even just come out and say, you're not eligible today? Like, but it was a bold move by Trev to forget that.
No, it was. But I also think this is an opportunity, like we're saying, about the harsh penalties, like Chicago. Like, I think it's time to make a statement. Like, nobody will ever, after this, if it's handled properly, no one will ever forget the glove again.
I've slammed the gavel here. I think is what has happened. And,
Swift justice.
Yeah, no, it's I don't think it didn't come into my decision at all, man. I mean, OJ got off, like it's, and we had I mean, Trev wasn't in a white Bronco with cowlings going down the 401.
Right,
but
you say it wasn't there, but there's a conscious bias or unconscious bias.
Unconscious bias, yeah.
You sometimes never. It's the same as like, it's why home teams in hockey generally get the benefit of the doubt with refereeing calls. If you go through the studies, the calls generally favor the home team as opposed to the away team, because you have a crowd that's going to be ready to rip you if you get the bad call. And like I can't remember who he used to be with Sports Illustrated. I think he does 60 Minutes now. He wrote a big book on it, where it's about the biases. So you may not think it, but he put that potentially inside of you that you're not even fully aware of, but in your mind, it's kind of there. You're just not looking at it.
I try to be as professional as possible and separate that, Maddie, as much as I can. But speaking to that was the tough when I did go overseas to play. It was so hard because over there, refs are influenced so much by the fans and how they do the game. It's like you go if you're on the road in another, and it doesn't matter what sport, the crowd's all over you for everything that they miss. Someone falls down, they're crying bloody murder, and so they're always influenced that way. So, yeah, I understand it. In this case, I disagree, but it's been known to happen in the past.
John Wertheim, I think it is.
Okay, yeah.
He wrote a book, I believe it was, where they looked into the
home field advantage,
the reffing, all of that, the influences of the game, and how it's going to be there. And that's also part of the reasons why, I don't know, I just think human nature, sometimes where fans are a little too quick to turn on a ref, where I could also see if you turn too quickly, they might just be like, I'll show you. Mm-hmm. And they'll call the calls the other way. And I feel like as fans sometimes, like, do you really need to call it the ref? Because then you're going to push him the other way, where now he's going to call stuff against you because now you've just pissed him off. I don't know. It's the human nature part of things.
For sure.
We don't focus enough on.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And so that makes me think of something that happened in the last Oilers game, the video replay thing, right? And I was thinking, we had a cool little text group with my two brothers and my nephew, who's a massive Oilers fan. But we're just going back and forth. And as soon as there was a bad call, of course, boom, the thing lights up. But then it goes to video replay, and the refs got it right. And watching the last NFL game as well, these officials are incredible. Like I think their percentage of accuracy is off the charts. But there was one catch. It was like and they ruled it an incomplete pass. But until you saw it with the replay, it was hard to tell. But the refs got it right. And when video replay came in, I mean, I think I was there going, oh man, what about the integrity of the game? I think it's actually, now that we're into it, kind of like, if you remember when seatbelts first came in, right? Everyone was, you can't tell me to wear my seatbelt. I feel naked without it now, right? But I'm kind of that way with video replay now too. I think it's actually adding to the game because we're getting things right.
What
do you think?
Well, since all this offside stuff in the NHL, right? So we were talking about it weeks ago, like it shouldn't take as long as it's actually taking. I forget which Oilers one that they were actually looking at, but it seemed like, or it wasn't it? Anyway, the fact that they were zooming in, and even Connor McDavid made a light of it too, saying, well, how much do you need to zoom in, right? Like, it's just...
Is that Montreal?
I can't remember which one.
It was either Montreal or Chicago.
Yeah,
I think. One of those two.
One of those two were after and it actually, it was great because it actually showed some personality with Connor.
Yeah.
Like he was making fun of the situation, which I like. But anyways, I really think there should be a time limit for offsides, at least like 3 minutes maximum, and you can't have the ability to like go. You have to watch it at a certain speed, maybe not full speed. But you have to watch because...
And I would take away zooming in or something. Give me like 3 camera angles. It's got to be obvious to the naked eye, where we could just watch it on maybe 75%.
Exactly.
And
you're talking to overturn an on-ice call?
Overturn.
Yeah.
75, because, the one issue I have with where we are, with offsides especially, offside's only put in place this challenge to take away goals. It doesn't create goals.
Yeah.
And what do people want to watch? They want to see goals.
Yeah.
Is the spirit of the rule really to look and make sure, well, is he that centimeter offside or not?
Right.
Right? Like, and that's the one where it's just like, well, to me, there's still a human element to this game that you should, or in sports just in general, you should probably want to keep. And so I would love, like, yeah, you have this amount of time, you got these angles, you got this speed. If you can't figure it out in that time, call on the ice stands.
Yeah, love
it's
it.
just that simple.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And
Well,
if you can't, and if it's you see, no, that's obviously offside. Boom, like the Oiler won the last game. That's offside.
Yeah.
They were very quick in determining that too.
Yeah.
They went and they looked. Oh yeah, no, that's offside. Boom, go call it up. The reason we got offside was, and I'll forget which one. I think it was Duchesne with the
Yeah,
Avs.
it was like 14 feet offside.
That's one where we could have
Yeah.
you could have had 100%
Yeah.
speed. Got it right away.
Yeah.
Boom. That's what I feel like replay was meant for. But because now you're dealing with the rule of the law and you go, well, the letter of the law, I should say. It's,
Yeah.
well,
And see,
if you're a centimeter off, well, that's offside.
Yeah.
So we've got to pull it back because we can't sit there and be like, well, it's only a centimeter. It's that like that black and white, and I'd like to just let's
I
find
like
a
that,
middle
though.
ground.
The whole possession thing too is puzzling for me because the puck's not always on the stick coming across the blue line, right? But you are considered to have control of the puck. I think it was the Leon Draisaitl where it bounced and he kicked it, right? And I mentioned because Leon's German, football is his first sport. I'm sure he played that just
for
as
calling
much
it
as
football.
Hockey.
No,
or soccer.
thank you for calling it
whatever.
football. Like I'm
sorry.
saying, thank you as a soccer,
Sorry.
like a football guy.
Sorry,
like,
my
thank you.
European is showing.
Yes, I love it. Thank you.
So soccer, like they all play, and so to me, that's him kicking it into a place where he has control. Not just like having his stick and kind of just a little soft dump to himself, I guess, in that point. So that has to be settled a little bit more. What constitutes having control of the puck? Like because it just
The possession rule is very convoluted.
Yeah.
It's very lawyerish. And it then makes this very complicated. Like to me, still the Cale Makar play with the Avs and the Oilers was the right call based on the way the rule book is. If you break it down and you look at the right things and you go full lawyer it up, it was right. I know Oiler fans don't want to hear them. They're going to be mad at me saying I'm wrong. And look at this picture. Look at that. No. You're entirely wrong with it. The rule book stated what it is, and the refs got it right. Mm-hmm. But that's where I said, I remember on 12:6 at the time, they need to change the writing of it. Yeah. They need to make it more simple because the possession part is, at that time, the puck was off Makar's stick, and his blade was facing one way, the puck was to the other way. So yeah, he doesn't have possession of the puck. But he does.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like,
Totally.
The average person would sit there and be like, but he has the puck. He had the puck coming in. And that's where you have to be like, well, okay, this is how we're going to define possession. It's like in football. We fought for years trying to figure out what a catch was.
Right. Right. Those lawyers, man.
They ruin
They make
everything.
it way too
ruin everything.
complicated.
I take care of them in my courtroom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
You don't allow those right lawyers to get out of line.
Oh, no.
I do have to actually quickly go, Jeff, to you. A question has come to me from one Lucas Holt from Wayne on the Wolf. He says, make sure to ask Crusher how the bass playing is coming along.
Oh, man, I'm
So,
telling
are you
you.
learning bass?
So my daughter's bought me a bass guitar for
No way.
Christmas, and I've never played before.
Okay.
Lucas, I'm rocking it, man. I've got like some real good riffs. I've got my fingering down. I've got my finger work done. I'm trying to really master the 2-finger plucking rather than just one.
Yeah.
But it's actually been great for me because I've never played before, guitar or bass, but we got buddies who play guitar, so I'm like, I need to learn bass. And all of a sudden under the tree, a bass guitar. But it's learning at its finest, right? I was terrible. Like I'm stroking away and it's buzzing and there's feedback and I'm not making clear sounds. I'm 4 weeks in and I've been dedicating at least 10 minutes a day to just going through, and I'm actually starting to make good sounds now, right? Figuring it out. So no, it's been incredible fun. Like I'm having a great time.
What made you want to get into just playing bass?
I'm a big music fan, like like everybody, but I'm a big music fan. But I've always been fascinated, like I was a huge AC/DC, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden kid, in high school.
So you're playing that thing right from the crotch, too,
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's down, way down low, man. Like way down low. I'm telling you.
Awesome. I love it.
Exactly. But I also love this new stuff that came out with like the David Bowie at the time, and the Cult and all these. And I one thing that's always fascinated me, especially as I started getting older, when we were with the Blue Jays. We actually put together a band room because some of the guys we would plug away and have fun. Yeah, so we had 4 or 5 guys who were just super good at guitar, and we had a couple guys that drummed. So we actually put together a band room. So the guys they'd go and jam, and then some of the guys would come and learn, and I just go and sit in with the guys, and it was super fun, man. And here's a cool thing that happened, and I don't know why, but I just opened the weight room to the other teams, right? And so like, I can't remember his name. Like Ditch Frog was their band though, but he was like the third baseman for, what was his name? Starts with an S. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. But they had this band, kind of like a thrash metal band. They would go and play clubs and stuff though, and they would start bringing me their CDs, their burnt CDs of their music. And so like Kansas City would roll into town, Crushers playlist. The Red Sox would roll into town, Crushers rock. And so I have this stack of CDs at home from almost every team. The guys would bring me music because they knew I'd just rock out the weight room when they'd come in, right? And everybody loved it. But watching those guys play. Because they did it to get their minds off of the stress and the end of the game, right? Watching these guys play, get together and learn, just really fascinated me, man. Because I'm training them as athletes, help them get better. But watching them get better as musicians was super cool. But then, getting to know some of the musicians, like Meatloaf rolls in through the clubhouse, and huge Meatloaf fan, right? So he actually signed. I brought it in. He was there for 3 or 4 days with David Wells. Was one of his buddies. So I actually brought in my Meatloaf CD and he signed it for me and stuff. But getting to talk to these guys about their careers and stuff, fascinating. And then one of the big events was we went into Dallas, and we stayed at the same hotel that Pink was staying in with her whole crew. So we got in late, and everybody's there, and we're down in the lounge area, and they had 2 pool tables there. So we would go down every time we went to Texas. We'd have a little pool tournament, just having fun, right? And Pink's guys come in, her whole crew comes in. We start playing with them, and we just start talking music. What fascinates me, guys, and like Whale and the Wolf, watching Lucas and those guys go since early on, it fascinates me how new music comes around. And I'm just going, how is this possible? And actually, back in TSN days, I had Ryan and the guys into the studio talking about how does new music happen? Like, how is it possible we've never heard this cool sound before? It's fascinating. Anyway, that's my long-winded story behind this. But yeah, I'm having a great time. Having a great time learning this thing.
Athletes nowadays, they really like their video games and stuff.
Yeah.
What did you do for downtime back in?
I drank. No, what did I do? I mean, there were video games.
Yeah. Would you bring them on the road?
No, we weren't that crazy.
Because that happens now.
Now
players will bring their PS5s, whatever, with them.
In Sweden, I took it on the road one time, and my roommate, Matthias Tratnik was his name. He's Austrian, went to Maine, just got his jersey retired for Red Bull Salzburg. So just shout out to Matthias. But I brought it, and he played it like the whole day before the game and was just absolute garbage that game. So he was my roommate. So I was like, we're not bringing that anymore. You sucked tonight. And he goes, yeah, it's whatever. So,
he's burnt out.
Oh, he was just, well, and I tried it once and I was complete horse manure myself. I think because I don't know what I was playing, but I just got so amped up. That's like, video games are so weird. I'd love to see the studies, because if you're playing like those Call of Duty games and you're getting all amped up, but there's no physical release.
Yeah, right.
So like even with my son, when he was younger, like there was remote like screaming and yelling and the occasional F-bomb. He said he didn't say it, but I'm pretty sure it was an F-bomb.
Busted.
But and you could see I'd have to say, okay, you're done. But he'd have all this anxiety from, trying to shoot people, and he'd had nowhere to release all this pent up energy. And I didn't, of course, I'm just a father telling him to relax, but he can't. I wonder, if that's something like that would worry me as a coach if my players were doing that all day.
No, it's real. I can send you guys the studies. We've got studies on like the fatigue factor. So here's what we know, and this is a great study that's done, and this kind of when esports is taken off, right? There was a study done on grandmaster chess players. Okay. So they're sitting around, and again, I'm shooting from the hip a little bit, so I can't remember the exact details other than the outcome of this study. So they're kind of measuring, okay, so how much energy are these guys actually burning while they're sitting there, right? And so they're looking at basically the brain, and the brain is like a massive energy siphon, right? And the one study that did this huge research on these grandmaster chess players in a day tournament where they're there, I think it was for 10 or 11 hours of playing chess. They burn 6,000 calories sitting in their chairs. And which is more than you burn in a hockey game or in a football match or anywhere else, just because the brain is just the amount of time.
So the brain could cause you to burn that many calories.
Oh, the brain burns 25% of your entire energy or more. And then when it's active, like each thought actually requires energy. Anytime a synapse in the brain fires, there's energy being expended. So when the brain is incredibly active, the amount of energy gets siphoned. And so like, if you do a major exercise, like a test, like one of the Wingate tests or a VO2 max test, the reason you pass out afterwards, one of the main reasons you pass out afterwards is to protect the brain. The brain's not getting enough energy. So the body shuts itself down, not because there's not enough energy, it's because the brain's not getting enough energy. So you pass out on the ground, the body redirects all the energy to the brain, so the brain gets what it needs, and you wake up and you feel like you slept for 48 hours. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing. But the brain is a massive energy consumer. And so playing these video games, we wonder, these pro teams, they have psychologists, they have chefs, they have nutritionists, they have sport physiologists working on the exercise, and they're really paying attention to that exactly because it's big business, this pro esport world that we're into now. And these high performance teams, they're run just like the pro sports clubs. It's fascinating, but it's a huge thing. And kids don't realize. You're
saying like all the nutrition, all that, they have that for the esports?
Oh yeah. The esport team, the pro esport teams, they have training facilities. I
didn't realize that all that other stuff.
They have sleep rooms, nap rooms. They've got like in-house chefs and eating counters and nutritional timing, and sleep science is a big factor in these esport games, right? It is insane. It's actually quite impressive. And we're learning a lot from those guys.
I remember watching, I think it was part of a document. It might have been on Netflix. I can't remember, but I think it was League of Legends, and a guy was trying out to get on a certain team because one guy wasn't performing well and getting cut, and they all like live in a house or something, and it's all this training that they do and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh. And just the amount of screen time, that can't be great either.
No, and they're conscious of that. And so they actually, just like we would program our athletes training, weight room work, technical, tactical work seasonally, they actually program screen time for these guys now. Yeah. And they protect their sleep. So screen time is over a certain time before they're supposed to go to bed, so they can come back the next day and perform again. It's awesome. I mean, I'm loving it. And, if it does happen, if you ever get a chance to go look at like the League of Legends or these world championships, I think the one I saw, my nephew got to be ranked in the world somewhere, right? The Korean teams were touching base with him and stuff. And he was really escalating his skills in this. I think it was League of Legends. And so I had no idea about this world. So he goes, no, Uncle Jeff, check this out. He sends me some videos, and it was like the world championship, League of Legends or Call of Duty or whatever it was, world championships in Munich. And so the Munich, the Olympic Stadium is packed, like 100,000 people, every single day for 5 days. But then he sends me the videos, and they show on the side how many people are watching online. There's like 100 million people watching these kids play video games online. Plus, there's 80 to 100,000 people there live every single day. Yeah. It's incredible to me.
Well, and all the pro teams are starting to, or pro leagues are going to this. NHL has their big E-Championship. The NFL has their Madden Championship,
Brilliant.
whatever it is. FIFA's doing their E-World Cup and stuff. We actually just got a text into the Nasty Chat or a message in the Nasty Chat from Joe. I got to visit Williams F1 factory headquarters. The money and effort they are putting into F1 esports is shocking.
Yeah.
Like all these leagues are looking at the esport as there's just an added revenue and added league, and it's easy. And then you have Team Edmonton Oilers taking on Team Calgary Flames E-wise.
Right. So man, like one of the fascinating things for me was fantasy sport.
Yeah.
Brilliant, just brilliant, because it actually got me more engaged in watching players and teams that I wouldn't normally watch.
It's the reason the NFL is popular in Canada in my mind.
Yeah, okay, agreed. So this esport thing with like what you're saying, what another brilliant move for creating interactions with your fan base. I think it's genius.
Yeah, I mean that's a great idea to have your esports team in the same city and have that associated with. Yeah, that's something else. I mean I played the games and stuff. My shooter game was Destiny, and you get better.
Yeah.
After a while, and you start slaying some noobs a little bit, but then you play against. you like there on weekends. There's this Trials of Osiris that you play. And I was good, and then I would go play with these guys that are really good, and you peek around a corner, and it's boom. They know all the alleys to use sniper. They know which guns to use in certain maps and stuff. It's frustrating now looking back at my time. It's quite impressive how good these guys actually are that sit there and
just
play these
serving up humble pie.
Oh my gosh!
I get it.
I would just say you guys should watch myself, Dustin, Hernan Alistair, Yukon Jack play Tecmo Super Bowl. We were of a high level, I would like to say, and we would destroy anyone and everyone because we knew all those little tricks of the game, and that was the closest I ever got to being a very good video game champion.
Is the reason
Two-time
why it's
Tecmo
not
champ.
here?
We need to just get the machine.
Yeah, but is
want
the
it.
reason it's not here is because nothing would get done?
What would happen?
The reason it's not here
This room would be empty right now.
is we haven't had enough time to be like, yeah, let's get this in here.
Yeah, okay.
But
All
it's like we want it.
Oh,
here.
yeah. I
And
want it
Dusty
here.
bought the game of it. Like, 'cause-
Oh.
so he bought the actual game for because we played the Super Nintendo version. It was Tecmo Super Bowl. We found like a manual online. Somebody like created stats for all the players. It became our Bible. Every time we pick a team and would play, every guy would take like a minute to look through it.
Yeah.
And to like just analyze their team and look at the stats and how they want to do it. And you'd feel it was something else where we got to. From where we started to where it ended, it was incredible. But we played it on one of those arcade machines where someone created on a computer.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we didn't have the actual controller of the Super Nintendo, but we had a joystick and buttons. And I don't know how well I would do with the Super Nintendo controls yet, because it's a little different. No joystick. But we had like a divider between us, so you can't see each other and see the plays you're picking. It was intense, and I maintained in that building. I was like, Yukon was the worst that we had. No offense, Yuki, you sucked. But like, we could go up against anyone in that building and guaranteed 20 straight games will beat you.
Yeah.
Like I could play with the worst team. You could have the best. I'm going to beat you. Why? Because I know this game better than you. And then eventually you'd pick it up and you'd challenge us. But we got to that point where it was like, yeah, we're really good.
But you couldn't customize your team. Like you couldn't bring play. Like
You couldn't change players around.
okay.
But you can move players within your roster.
Okay.
So like we learned that because we learned all the different things. So before, like you just play your team. We
Yeah.
learned that there's a playbook and you could change your playbooks. Yukon, after like a year, learned that there was even more plays that we already knew. So that's why you sucked, Yuke. But then with the players, one thing we learned after is, so we just thought you can move your receivers within receivers.
Yeah.
Then we thought, well, we've got this fast, like number 3 receiver. I got a slow running back. I'm going to throw him in the running back spot. And then I could throw to him in the flat, and then he's got the speed to run. And like, so that's where we started moving players around. And
Nice.
we
Serious stuff,
all
man.
between 10 and 12 every day throughout COVID. It was the 4 of us, 2 of us at least were playing, and swears were flying, things were getting kicked, walls were getting kicked.
Yeah.
It was intense.
I love it.
Like
That's fun.
it was wild. Like it would ruin your mood for the day. Me and Hernan would finish the day, play a quick game.
Yeah.
I would lose to him, and I'd just be mad. I'd grab my bag, walk out the door, and I'd just be frustrated. I would drive home angry because I lost to Hernan. I'm like, I made a stupid play there. This is all dumb. Oh, it was real business.
My son is playing a game that I really want to buy, but I know that I would waste thousands of hours on it. It's called Zomboid. It's essentially The Walking Dead, but it is so realistic. Like you have to read books to gain intelligence.
Oh.
And I mean, if you're running from a horde and you're not in good shape, you start to sweat. If you get away, you have to make sure you're warm. You'll get hypothermia. Everything's thought of. Like drugs to stimulate yourself so you can battle, but if you take too much, you become addicted. And I watched him for an hour. I probably didn't say a word just watching him play this game. But I mean, it's older. I guess it's like 10 years old. But that's what I just can't believe how in depth these games. Some of these things you can just go into and lose yourself with, and that's I like that. I've always loved video games ever since I was the Asteroids and Pac-Man at the Big Scoop ice cream and in Kitsilano. I used to go as a little 7-year-old and play these games. I've always loved them. I thought they were a nice escape, but sometimes it's a little bit too much, I think, for kids.
Asteroids is my game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got in television. My brother and I pitched in. He got in television, one of the first ones, and then we got the Atari.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it,
One
man.
button joystick.
One button joystick. It's just so perfect. But I got hooked on Asteroids. Asteroids and Defender
Yep.
were my games.
Madden was big for me and my brother.
Yeah.
We'd get Madden, and then that'd be like mid-August, early August, it would come out. So the last like 3 weeks of the summer, it would just be playing Madden, constantly.
That's a pretty complex game too, though, right?
We got pretty good at it. Like it was.
Like that's not like Asteroids. It's not when you step into it just start shooting rocks.
No, and then you can build your way up because it's the different levels.
Yeah.
Too. So you start with rookie and you absolutely dominate. Like, hey, I'm going to go to pro, and then it's Madden and all pro, or all pro then all Madden or something like that. And but it also, weirdly enough, like I knew more about football players in the NFL when I was consistently playing Madden than I did that.
For sure.
I knew offensive linemen because I was looking to make trades and stuff, and you're looking, and I ended up learning about like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and now like I don't know the best offensive lineman in the NFL right now. It's kind of like we cover the sport and stuff, but like I feel like I knew the players, the lower players, like if you will, non-sexy players, a lot better when I played Madden consistently.
Yeah.
And now I just don't get into it as much. But I haven't played video games in a long time personally.
No,
I have a PS3. That's the last system I own.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
I don't have anything. I did want to play Last of Us because of the show.
Did you watch the show?
It was amazing.
Do you watch that show?
I haven't seen it yet.
It was the one that was filmed in Edmonton, HBO. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
The video game it's so good. I watched the show first. The video game is so good that my son had it obviously, and I was playing it. And I couldn't wait to get to because the story, like I wanted to finish the level.
Does it match the television show?
Exactly.
That's what I heard, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want to play it. That one I wanted to watch the show and then go play it.
It's unbelievable. It's one of the best video games ever.
No kidding.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I heard the show's really good too.
It's amazing.
So
It's
I
really
haven't
good.
seen it yet, but I'm waiting for like another stretch of cold weather where I can sit down and.
It's one like HBO had an amazing run for like a half year, maybe a little longer, where they had House of Dragon, White Lotus, Last of Us, but then Succession was there. Like if it wasn't for Succession, White Lotus might have won a few extra awards at the award seasons that's happening right now. Succession was just too good, but it was really good. And I now want to play the game. I do want to play then the next game before watching season 2. I've also had it kind of spoiled, so I know how season 2 kind of plays out a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't want that for first season. I want to watch it and then potentially go play it. But all I've heard was it's so dead on between the two.
So
they did a really
scary.
good job TV-wise of matching the game.
And that's brilliant because a lot of the adaptations, I think, from video games to movies, the number one thing people can, it didn't follow the path of the original game. Like I remember Assassin's Creed. It's a huge game, right? Yes. I liked the movie. I went with my son because we played the game a little bit together. A lot of people hated it because it wasn't exactly how...
Rings of Power on Amazon.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. Apparently, I never read the books for that. I guess didn't do a good job. People like Tolkien people are like, this is awful.
Yeah.
Like it looks great, sounds great. The storyline, awful compared to what the book was.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that series though. I'm a Lord of the Rings guy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Big time.
Did you see Rings of Power?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really
really good.
I enjoyed it.
Is it new one coming out, right?
Yeah.
Season 2 is supposed to come out this year at some point.
Yeah.
It was held up by the strike, the
Yeah.
writers.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah.
the next show I'm looking forward to.
But I was totally impressed again, just with the amount they put into that show. Like it's it
The
could
money
be
Amazon put in.
oh my gosh! But it's a big screen series, in my opinion, and I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings.
I just hope they stop at The Hobbit.
Yeah,
Oh.
We've had The Hobbit done, which wasn't that good.
You didn't like The Hobbit?
It was too CGI'd. It didn't. Watching it, I didn't like. I've watched Lord of the Rings back, and I'm like, this still holds up. It still looks really good. Story was great. The Hobbit shouldn't have also been 3 movies. It should have been
Exactly.
2.
That's
at
my big
most.
thing.
Initially, it
At
was
most.
supposed to be 2 movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it got extended to 3. So it's like you got one book that's 3 movies, and you got this massive 3-parted book that's 3 movies. Like it doesn't add up. They extended it too long, and like the CGI was just too much.
It's like a DC movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. DC's all too much CGI.
yeah.
But stop at don't redo The Hobbit. Don't do Lord of the Rings. We've done it. And especially Lord of the Rings. You're just
you
never
can't-
gonna match it.
No.
Yeah.
So build
That
the
was
series
perfect.
up until there, and then we kind of have the prequel. We got The Hobbit. We got Lord of the Rings. We could just live and watch those.
I remember reading Lord of the Rings really young. Well, I read The Hobbit first, which when you read The Hobbit, it's not as advanced as the
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings books I found. So it was a easier read at that age for me. But then I got to Fellowship and it was like, whoa, this is a lot. And then I remember my first year playing hockey overseas. Harry Potter was huge, right? So the first movie was coming out. I think there was already 3 or 4 books out. Every little kid was running around with those little circle glasses in Scotland. And I remember going to the theater in Ayr and the preview to Lord of the Rings. And I haven't thought of Lord of the Rings in decades, right? And all of a sudden you see Gandalf walking through and my mind just went boom. I go, is that Gandalf? Like
No
after
kidding.
just seeing, and I just, my girl, who was my wife at the time, I'm like a little kid going nuts because we're seeing Harry Potter, the first movie. And she's going, what's wrong with you? I go, this is Lord of the Rings. So it was pretty
I
cool.
love it.
They crushed that movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
man.
absolutely
Yeah,
crushed
well
that
done.
movie. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato, Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Jeff Krushell, Joaquin Gage with you here. Crusher, message into the nasty chat. Jeff, this is from Senior Boots. Listen to your Broken Heart 2-part podcast. Well, thanks for sharing I Care Aspirin wherever I go.
Okay,
So well
thank
done
you.
to you on passing along that message. Lance Kane says, I liked Rings of Power myself. And then Jeremy said, nothing happened in the 3rd Hobbit movie. It was a complete crash grab. So
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it disappointed me, and it for me it kind of scarred the franchise for me because it was a deliberate attempt at getting me to the theater, and I was kind of offended, honestly, because I had to go.
See, and I watched the second one, and I thought that was going to be the last one.
Me too.
And as it was ending, I'm like, wait, it's not over.
Yeah.
There's a 3rd one. I was stunned, and I
Yeah.
was not happy.
Yeah, me neither.
And actually, I don't even think I saw the 3rd one in theaters.
No, I did. I had to
don't think
go.
I
I'm
did.
just, they got me. They have me, man. I'm weak.
Lord of the Rings.
Like-
Lord of the Rings got me in theaters, but I don't think Hobbit. I don't think the 3rd one I did.
No,
think
I was
watched that one on
fired up
TV.
for The Hobbit because I read the books too.
Yeah.
My brother read the books, and I read the books, and my mom read the books. So we had
Yeah.
this thing. And another movie that was actually quite important for me was The Da Vinci Code.
Oh,
My
yeah.
mom read the book. She's a big reader, right? And I read the book. And then, when I was traveling, I would go to all
and go and see
I would
them,
go
yeah.
out to all the little places, boom. And when it came out in the theaters, I took my mom to the theater
Yeah.
to see it. Yeah, and we loved it because we were into that. Isn't it crazy, hey?
Those books. I remember that first one that it got passed around our team. I was playing in Europe. It was the first movie.
Da Vinci Code?
Yeah, it was the Da Vinci Code. But then, everyone read it
Yeah.
within 2 days, essentially, because it was such a page turner.
Yeah.
I went back and I read a couple of his previous books too. Dan Brown those were
crazy
fantastic
good.
books.
Just in the historical references and
Yeah,
stuff.
everything kind of happened. The one that was up north, I forget the. 0.0 or something like that. That was a really good one
Yeah.
too. But yeah, I enjoyed his writing.
Yeah.
I haven't read the last few, but the other movies. But yeah, I liked them.
I maintain, because everyone reads the book, watches the movie, and goes, book was better.
Of course.
I maintain you watch the movie, then read the book if you can. because you watch the movie and you think, oh, that was good. That was a good movie. Then you read the book and you go, oh, that was even better.
See,
It's always better. Like you just get better. Whereas as opposed to with the movie, you just think, well, it wasn't as good as the book. And that's where it's like I read the Godfather book after watching the movies. Obviously, I actually didn't know it was a book.
Yeah.
And I read it, and it was really well done. I'm like, the book's amazing.
Okay. Interesting approach, because I can see that. Because even with the Lord of the Rings, with some of the characters, even, and they're going, no, that's not right. But
you critique the movie.
You critique the movie. But maybe if I'd watched the movies first and went back to the books add to the movie.
They'll make it even better. Like
Okay.
you'll think the book's even better.
Interesting.
That's the way I look.
Interesting
Like if
take.
you can, now there's certain ones you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like I read Moneyball before I watched it.
Right.
okay.
But it's like the movie missed out on a couple key points that were huge for why the A's were successful. They had an amazing pitching staff. That doesn't get talked about in the movie at all. That they had Barry Zito and all those other guys.
Yeah.
Like there was some reasons for the A's that the book nailed, and it was just like, well, then you watch the movie, and like, man, you're missing that.
That's why Fellowship of the Ring is one of my, arguably my top 3 favorite movies, is because when they showed the Shire the first time, that is exactly how I pictured it in my mind's eye when I was reading the book initially, and probably why I went so crazy when I go, oh my God, that's the Shire. And the fact that it actually exists now, that I could, if I had the dough to go and actually go to Hobbiton and walk around. I know people have gone and they go, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
So bucket list item for sure.
No, that would be a good one. I loved it. Like the Hobbit hole and
Oh my God. You can stay
on.
there.
Yes. Can you?
Yeah.
There's a place in Canada that's created a little
Really?
hole like Bilbo Baggins that you can go stay in, and it's on Airbnb or something like that. You can go rent. To Jeffrey saying, except I read the books years before there was a movie, and I get that. And then like there's certain things like if you read the book, then there's no going back. But if like I never read Dune, I didn't know Dune was fully a book. I just watched Dune recently, and I really
Which
enjoyed
one?
it.
The
first
new one?
The original
No, that's
one?
not out yet. Oh yeah, Timothy Chalamet.
Okay,
The new.
yeah.
The new version.
Yeah. But now I know, okay, the book's there. If you know and you've watched the movie first, or if you know that it's like Heat 2 is going to be produced.
Yeah.
They're building that. Heat 2, there's a now book for it.
Really?
Yeah. Michael Mann's built it, or it's been built in the book. Now it's going to be into a movie. That's one where for me, it's like, well, maybe I'll just watch the movie first, then I could go read the book because I can plan it that way. So if you know the two, I would go order movie, then book. Obviously, if you've already read the book, there's no going back.
That's the one movie that I did. I was younger. I saw the original Dune, obviously, when I was a kid. And then I went and read the book. And then I think I read part of the second, and it got a little bit too weird for me at that age or whatever. But great new movie. Like, that's one of my favorites. Now, I actually went and bought the book again to reread it because, it's awesome.
Yeah,
that's one of the best sci-fi novels of all time. That what's his Hebert, whatever that wrote it or whatever. He's it's awesome. I love that story. I think it's great. I can't wait for. It was supposed to come out in November, but it's March. I think it's March 3rd or something. It's coming out, so.
It's early. It's coming up quick here.
Yeah.
So my older brother and I got into graphic novels. He really got into it. And man, like some of this graphic novel stuff, it's spectacular. The storytelling and the artwork. But then we got into this conversation, I think it was over the holidays or just before the holidays, about all these Batman movies and all these iterations of Batman. And we're going to go, and when is it too much, right? But I kind of see Hollywood's perspective on this because there's a lot of different ways you can present Batman, right? But if you go back to like the true storytelling and the graphic novels, it's dark and dangerous and it's not a happy place, right? It's not a happy place. So some of the Batman movies are actually really good. Some of them are very misleading. And if you're into like the true Batman stuff, right? Like it's really interesting now to see how cinema is able to bring stories to life, especially with this new computer graphics, things they've never done before.
The Frank Miller Batman, in my opinion, is the best Batman.
I agree.
Dark.
I think so. Yeah.
And like Batman is essentially a villain.
Yeah.
He's a troubled individual. And I thought the last one that they did with what's his name?
Christian Bale?
Yeah. No.
Was there one after?
Twilight guy, whatever.
Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson.
He was
it was
Batman?
good. Yeah, the last one.
I didn't
It's
even
pretty
know
good. It's pretty good. And, yeah, as a kid, I was like, why don't they just keep telling the story? I want to know what happens in the story. But now with all these alternate timelines and things, like I can justify the new movies a little bit. But the graphic novels, I don't know. My favorite kind of superhero, and it's funny because my dad and I started buying our favorite graphic novelist was Garth Ennis.
Yeah.
He did this series called Preacher. It's fantastic. I still have every single one.
I've got them.
Do you?
Yeah.
No way.
The Preacher, yeah.
Yeah, I have I have 2 number ones and the whole series
really?
in the original
I don't think
comics.
I have the whole series.
I have them all. They're down in the bit.
Great storyline,
Oh
though.
my God.
They better not be on the floor.
No,
the
they're in
basement.
a comic book box downstairs.
A little bit higher up, though.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because
In the
I just actually
sleeves.
saw CKUA had a little bit of a flooding, and they've lost a bunch of records
Really?
these last couple of days. Yeah,
With all that flooding down there?
yeah.
No, it's
Never keep saying make sure that's not on the floor.
Yeah.
No, it's unbelievable series. But The Boys. So I started reading The Boys too, which is on
Amazon, isn't it?
Amazon. It's the best.
You've mentioned that a few times.
It is so good. Not for kids.
I gotta watch that.
But it's pretty dark. It's essentially superheroes acting very poorly.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's just, if you get a chance, but watch The Boys first. Don't watch Gen V. Wait till you're done all The Boys episodes. I think it's 3 seasons. Then you watch Gen V because the new season's coming out in a few months here.
Yeah.
Walking Dead was one where I know they strayed away from the comic. It had such promise. Like that first season was amazing.
Great.
And they just lost their way. And I stopped watching at one point. I feel like I do want to go back just to see how it ended.
Oh yeah,
last-
they're coming back with some more now too.
Well, I think Daryl has a spin-off,
he's
and then
in-
they did the one on the West Coast, and there was a lot of different things, but it was just... It just lost its way. Like it just wasn't the same, and it wasn't one I read the comics or anything like that, but it was just... it could have been an all-time great show.
Yeah.
It
And
should
they
have
let that
ended
one.
after, like when the governor in the book in the graphic novel was just evil, and I thought that was a great season with the governor. Negan, of course, epic. But that it should have kind of ended then, I think.
And that's when I stopped.
Yeah.
Was at the end of the Negan storyline, and then all of a sudden Rick and I forgot her name, Maggie, is it or whatever? It looked like they were about to turn on each other. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm not coming back. I'm out. And that show captivated me enough where it was like every Sunday I had to watch it. I couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
And it went away.
It was a great 2-hour. Breaking Bad, and that one was a great 2 hours.
I never got into Breaking Bad.
Oh my God.
I just started.
Did you?
I'm on episode 3. I'm just starting episode 3.
You literally just started.
You're so lucky.
That's what I've heard because my brothers have all watched it. And Better Get Saul, right? That's the next
Yeah,
one.
watch that next.
Watch that next, they said,
You know,
yeah.
you probably could. I think there's a way. I saw it online. You can watch all of Breaking Bad up to the kind of the last season, and then you can go through or watch Better Call Saul. I don't know how
Yeah.
it goes.
But
And
Joe
then
loves Better Call Saul.
he
says it
never
was amazing.
I never thought that Breaking Bad could be topped, but I think Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad.
That's great. And it's funny. It's funny because I'm telling everybody, like my brothers, my friends, I'm just started. I'm on episode 3. They're going, oh, if I could go back and see this again for the first time. They're like, kind of what you said.
Yeah.
You're so lucky, man. You've never seen this before. And so just the character in the first 2 episodes, I thought the character development was tremendous.
Yeah.
Like all these characters, and you kind of see, these guys are going down a path, man. I can't wait to see what happens next.
I remember because I had all the 5 seasons and I went and got a vasectomy, and so I couldn't move. And just watched that straight and had a complete pass from my wife. Peas, beer, Breaking Bad.
Aiden says, watch Better Call Saul first.
That's what I've heard
So
too.
yeah, but you can watch Better Call Saul first up to the last season, then watch Breaking Bad, right?
And then finish last season?
all the way up to the last season, the first 6 episodes. Then you go back and watch all of Breaking Bad, and then and then go to.
That was Aiden?
Yeah, Aiden
so
O'Neill.
should I cease and assist on Breaking Bad and go to Saul? Is that
It
what
might-
I
I
should
might have
do?
to text
might-
Joe too here and see what he has to think. On this.
Yeah, he would know for sure, but I think it's up to season 6. the first 6 episodes of season 6, then go watch all of Breaking Bad, and then go back and watch the last.
Understood. Okay, I get it.
And the last, and then that'll make sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Best shows of all time in your eyes?
Oh gosh.
Because like to me, it's now like Simpsons is always going to be up there. I'm going to take the cartoons kind of out this because I love South Park and stuff. Drama wise or with actors and stuff.
Drama wise,
it's like Sopranos.
Oh yeah.
It's The Wire and it's Succession. To me, is like I don't know how to order them 1, 2, 3, but they're my 3 at the top.
I have to watch Succession. I'm one of those guys that hasn't watched it.
Have you even started it?
No, I haven't even started.
No, me neither.
Watch it.
So
I would recommend it.
One of the shows that has always been like I don't know why, but Law and Order got me, man.
Yeah.
Like Law and Order.
That could get me, yeah.
But there's like 22 seasons or whatever, right? But Law and Order I thought was just a great show. Yeah, and I don't think it for me it never got old. It was kind of like the same story every week, but these
That's what I think was great about it.
Yeah.
Was that you could turn it on at any moment and you didn't need to know a backstory.
Exactly. And I think that's what appealed to me because I'd missed a couple episodes and I'd come into an episode and I didn't need to see those episodes. And it was a thing. So just for me personally, I really, and I still do, just hearing the theme music, I'm going, oh, okay, Law and Order.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun,
no,
dun,
it's
dun.
iconic. That's what I wanted when I went into Judge. I want that.
We'll pull that up for you. Actually, you get that. I'll get the
That's your walk-in.
That's my entrance music.
Entrance music, man.
That or we got the Judge Judy music for you. One or the other. We'll get that for you.
That is awesome.
But if you've ever seen The Wire, I do recommend that one. You have to get through about 4 episodes.
Yeah.
It's very slow to start, but then it picks up. And to me, it's really real. Like it's just like that's pretty accurate, I think, of life and stuff. There's not a lot of creative liberties and stuff. Like it just seems like that's
Okay,
and it's awful. And then The Sopranos, that's the show I wish I did. Like I watched it later. I just watched it like 4 or 5 years ago for the first time. Because I'm a big, like, I love all those gangster movies.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the hell have I not seen The Sopranos? But I knew how it ended. I knew, like, the big cut to black.
Yeah.
So I wish I was able to watch that without knowing what exactly happens in that final scene. I didn't know what happened throughout the whole series. It was just, I know that on that last scene, there's going to be this moment where I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, there's that happening.
Yeah.
So it didn't have as big of an impact. It still did, but not as much as it did. I remember how big of a news story that was at the time. But
I haven't seen The Sopranos.
it's
Really?
No, I haven't. It's another one I've just been sort of saving.
It just makes me sad that James Gandolfini's passed away.
And I know it's sad.
Yeah.
Such a good actor. Yeah. What a great show. Just keep, again, one of those iconic things where, well, it's a water cooler show. It was, it was kind of it was pre-PVRs, so
it was like 99 to 04 or 05 or something
people,
like that.
if you did, you were one of your only people that had one, or a TiVo at that point, right? And the next day you had to watch it because everyone else watched it, right? So it was great. But if I were to say my favorite, I mean, there's so many, but over the last couple, it'd have to be Game of Thrones. That was, that was unbelievable how good that show was.
So here's what I've got. Aiden saying, if you want to stick to the timeline, then yes, what Gager is saying.
Okay, I was right.
I think you appreciate Saul more after watching Breaking Bad. The Saul in Breaking Bad doesn't make sense if you watch Better Call Saul first, though, says Brent. So there's a different. I think the key is we trust Mark Mageau very, very well in these categories. I think we'll have to reach out to Mark.
Okay,
Like, hey, Mark, what's the plan of action for this? I do need to watch those too, though.
Oh, there's so
everyone. I made a promise to. I think Warren Bears of the Bear that I would, and I haven't lived up to that promise yet.
I think there's something, like, if I could mind wipe myself, I'd love to watch all the Marvel movies, like the first ones, up to Infinity War, like in chronological order. I think that would be great. I think it's like 26 hours.
Have either of you watched The Shield?
I watched the first episode and I was all ready to get in, and then I abandoned ship.
The morning boys keep telling me I gotta watch The Shield. It's better than The Wire and stuff, and nowhere else have I ever heard that. And I was just wondering if it's.
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, well,
at least the need for like the whole wall of CDs is past now.
Yeah,
I remember playing with a guy in Europe, and I just thought he was completely full of it, because he was actually saying, one day you're just going to take the little device, put it on top of your TV, and that's what everything's going to come out of. And I was like,
He was ahead of his time,
oh,
man.
it was way ahead of his
I have
time.
a bunch of DVDs.
I still have. Listen,
I'm always gonna, and I will always
Yeah?
buy them because I don't need a streaming service to come and tell me we're pulling it, and then I have nowhere to watch it. I still have it. I could watch all 14 seasons, first 14 seasons of The Simpsons, whenever I want. I just have to put it in my DVD player, and I can press off the grid. I got South Park for like 15 seasons. I've got all of The Wire. I need to get all of The Sopranos.
he's going to take his solar power generator
yeah.
and his DVD player, and he's going to be all set.
Crave can't tell me what I can and can't watch.
I love it. That's fantastic, man.
love it.
Well, just out of spite, I still have my my cassette tape
Oh
box
my gosh.
full that I used to have in my car.
Yes.
I have it. Just out of spite, I kept DVD wise. I kept my AC/DC collection, and I've got my classic Judas Priest and a couple of Iron Maiden, just CD wise, and my Meatloaf. I got that one saved, but it's all digital now.
I know.
Yep.
It's funny because I have some old tapes, and one of them is I put together. I was in limbo in my professional hockey career. I put together a promotional tape for myself and sent it to GMs. So
What?
Do you still have that?
What's on
You
it?
still have that?
yeah,
What's on it?
me stopping like Timu Solani on breakaways and making big
Nice.
saves and stuff to music, shoot,
Whitney Houston.
No, it was. She's
What?
at the end at the
Oh, is it?
credits.
Okay.
No, it's
That is. Do you have this tape?
yeah, I
Oh,
do.
we've gotta
But
see this.
gotta
but
watch
I
this.
tried. I was worried because I borrowed my in-laws VCR to put it in, and it kind of went. And I go no. So I took it out, but I have to transfer it to digital.
Digital. We got to get it
yeah,
digitized.
yeah.
We
That's
get that done
awesome.
for you.
Hey,
Yeah.
so what was the response? Like, did it go over well, or that must have been a
Did you
heavy?
get any bites on it?
I sent it to Caroline at the time. I sent it to Dallas. Bob Gainey was the GM. Sent it to a few other teams. I can't really remember, but I sent it. I had no responses from anywhere, and I phoned and I sent the tapes out, and the only one that responded to me was Bob Gainey.
No way.
Yeah, so I was sitting in my house. This is when I was back in Vancouver as a kid, and my mom said, "Joaquin, Bob Gainey's on the phone." So,
Hey, Bob.
and I go, "Hello, Mr. Gainey." He goes, "Hello, Joaquin." And I go, "Yeah." And I go, "Yeah, we got you. Thank you for giving me your stuff or whatever, blah blah blah." And he goes, "I'd like to invite you to camp, but we have 6 guys under contract. We have young guys coming. There's just no room for you in our."
Oh, so just was by the polite, just like reach out. To be like,
Total.
we appreciate
Oh.
the interest, but I can't. We can't
Only
fit you.
guy that did and who was I to do that? But him to take the time to phone me back
respect
and
for
let
Bob
me know.
Gainey.
I was like, this guy. It was hard for me to be upset. Usually in those cases you're upset. I was floored that he would do that for me. So I've been a Bob Gainey fan ever since.
Oh, I've loved him always, but now it's
even more,
That's
eh?
historical.
Yeah.
That is just
Crazy.
professional.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does that mean for a young
That's old
kid
school,
trying to
baby,
make his
right?
way? Like,
That's old school.
Well, I think he
Oh,
appreciates. Like I tell these stories because when I was really struggling, I mean, even with getting into major junior, I called the Kamloops Blazers and asked them to come to camp. So I was used to calling people of authority on the phone, which
Just
is
cold
kind
calling
of
them.
is unheard of for a young
Yeah.
kid to do, right? So just at that time, you phone this guy, you phone that guy, and they respected a young person doing something like that, But I didn't always get a call back,
Right.
But I think it's important that you're able to do things that.
But there's no use of that almost anymore.
No,
Like,
they get
you
someone
can't
else to
get-
do it.
Right, and you can't get a job by just walking into a store generally
No.
and be like, here's my resume or something. Because
Yeah.
it goes through these recruiters, it goes through all that. You got to go through all these,
Yeah.
like it's all done such an impersonal way that it's hard to, I don't even think you would stand out necessarily doing that. It would just be, we'll go online.
Yeah,
Go,
no,
go do it.
they're your kick to the online stuff right away, right? They don't, and I'm sure they miss out on a lot of good candidates for whatever profession it is.
absolutely. Like that. That's exactly what I was just thinking. Imagine you have a young kid who's actually trying to present his case to you, but that's lost on some
Yeah.
digital feedback thing. What a shame.
Yeah,
Like I think
How
could've
old
been
were
an
you at that
all-star.
time?
you can.
Like, was that juniors or like,
Yeah,
were you,
so
had you played
no,
a
that
little
would have
pro?
been in my early 20s, so probably like 22, 23.
Yeah.
So
Respect.
yeah, still a kid.
That's not easy for a kid to do either.
No.
Like good for you. Like that's
Well, I think the where that actually still happens nowadays would be like college recruiting
Yeah.
in the States. High school footballers will.
Put
It's not
together-
a video as much. Like you could probably find a lot of players. They'll build like a YouTube video of their highlights.
Yeah.
And that's what they try to send to schools and coaches and stuff to try to get recruited.
yeah.
And
The recruiting sites, yeah.
Yeah, because I'll like look up, try to find like a player's name for the Elks or something, and I'll look up their name, and all of a sudden there's like 3 highlight videos of theirs, and you click
Yeah.
it, and it's just music and their highlights and stuff. You're
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
well
yeah.
this is for some sort of recruiter or something like that. So that kind of still happens down there, but that's big business down there too, which is
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, all those. Like, we got to get Freddie Brathwaite in here because his story's amazing too. That how many teams he had to go through, or how many goalies in Calgary had to get injured for him to get a job again, and what he went through. It's awesome hearing some of those. You always hear the easy stories,
Yeah.
you know, the first round but
Yeah.
sometimes the ones that went through like different avenues to get to the highest level I find way more fascinating.
Yeah.
than
Hey, so just over your career though, like talking about college recruiting's it's a science now. Like it's a science, and we've got data and the analytics now play a role and everything. Just over your career though, like you sending a tape in to a team or a bunch of teams, maybe who haven't seen you. There's probably not a team now that hasn't got data on you at this point, right?
Yeah.
In this day and age, like it's
Yeah.
changed that much.
I think I think there's actually a database where
Yeah.
every player, like someone can just go and type in the name now.
I think Cass has that access to that.
And you can go and watch that guy's game clips for all of those, which, yeah, very helpful to look at a guy. I still think you have to get eyes on people and a firm handshake to kind of know what you're really getting into a little bit. But yeah, it was completely different, and that was one of the reasons why I look, this guy hasn't seen me, doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. I got to get some eyes on me, and obviously Ron Wilson too. I sent it to him when he was in Washington, and then 1 year, 2, he invited me to camp. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
Even today, though, if I was a GM or head coach or head of scouting, a phone call to me would be incredibly impactful.
Yeah.
Or some kid trying to reach out, get a hold of him, trying to get to me somehow, right?
Yeah.
Going through the front office and trying to weave his way to get to, hey, just want to introduce myself. That would go a long way with me, especially, if we weren't familiar with the kid.
I mean, some people. I needed to separate myself from other people, and that was one way to do that for sure. Right?
Man,
there wasn't many guys sending in their mixtapes to GMs.
It's funny you say that. Sorry, you got me thinking about all this cool stuff. Like I was helping out an agency a few years ago, and they were doing all their media training, right? And they had this person come in, and one of the things they actually spent time doing was showing these young boys, like these are up and coming draft eligible players from all over the world, showing them how to shake a hand and look a person in the eye. Like, how do you shake a hand? Not too firm, not too soft. This is how you shake a hand. But when you shake a hand, like they're all shy guys, right? And they're in awkward positions, but look them in the eye, say hello, say your name, do.
Yeah.
I'm going, whoa. And how would a kid ever figure that out without a little bit of guidance, maybe, right?
Yeah. Well, just think. I mean, my kids and meeting other little kids, you can tell the shy ones from the more outgoing ones that come up and shake your hand and ask you maybe a question. And you're floored at first to respond. And it's first impressions are massive.
Yeah, that's a great story.
I always look down at a hand first just to make sure I've got a good, and then I look up. It's never like a direct in, because I don't want to get the awkward
I've
hold
done
or
it.
you just miss or something.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I always look down to make sure I'm getting the hand and then I look up.
So what I've done, like after missing so many high fives or fist bumps with the guys, you go, that was terrible, man. When there's a bad handshake for whatever reason like that, you miss and you get no, that's not a.
you gotta do it better.
Yeah,
Redo.
I said, no, redo, and I'll just do, and I don't care who it is. Say, no, that's let me show you a handshake.
A bad handshake, it just feels weird.
Yeah, it does.
Actually, like, it's weird, but like if someone doesn't grip you enough or something, it's just like this is really like.
Yeah, here.
No.
Here.
Yeah.
I can't.
Oh, I know, sorry.
I can't reach there.
No, Maddie's got his surgery.
We can go left hand.
Yeah, left hand like this.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, like really light.
Can't.
It's just
No,
not
it's gonna be
like that where I'm not doing anything, and you're.
The dead fish is it's bad.
You
I
grab,
don't wanna,
there's like 2 pumps. You let go.
I know a NHL Hall of Famer with a dead fish handshake.
No way.
Yeah. It's
Do you want to
terrible.
share?
No, I don't.
No.
That's a bad reputation.
Yeah,
you don't want
no,
that
no,
one.
no.
That could hurt you.
Yeah.
You might get pulled from the hall.
It's eerie. It's so weird.
Handshake, right? Oh my goodness! But it's a thing.
First impressions do matter.
It's a thing.
Absolutely do matter. This is the EST Angle presented by Mats Clamato, Cesar Matt Iwanyk, Joaquin Gage, Jeff Krushell with you here. Just before we move, I want to get to the Oilers here a little bit, but Caster 1990, Gager and Jeff, as a lifelong comic nerd, I'm so impressed you guys are dropping Frank Miller Batman reference and Garth Ennis. Jocks and comic nerds, worlds can you collide.
All right.
So,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
let's get to Movers and Shakers, brought to you by Marco Mike Realty, Realty One Group Insider. If you're looking to buy and sell your home, be sure to check out marcomike.com for more information on the dynamic duo. Tonight, Oilers look for 15 straight. I haven't looked to see if we have an idea of who the goalie is going to be. They were off yesterday, which means they'll be on the ice today at about 10:30, and we'll find out. You and I disagreed on 2 guys a couple days ago what should happen here. Jeff, I will go with you. You've got the sports science and you've got the strength and conditioning. The Oilers have a 9-day break coming up soon. Is it important to look at rest for Stuart Skinner right now, or does it matter?
No, I don't think it matters. I don't think it does the way he's playing. And looking at their schedule, I think there's enough recovery time, and he does his work behind the scenes as well. So I don't think so. I think the biggest challenge is going to be staying sharp over this 9-day break, right? I mean, that's going to be the bigger challenge in my mind. But I would say he probably wants to play, of course, every game. Like, there's no doubt. I think he's that type of guy. And I think with the sports science team that the Oilers have, these are brilliant, smart guys behind the scenes, from the medical staff to the strength and conditioning guys. He's in a good spot. I would let it ride, and that's my opinion.
That's his as
He's
well.
a genius.
Yeah.
That's his as well.
Yeah.
No, there's okay. I know that Pickard was he's part of this streak, and I said this before, but I just think it would be more valuable for Stuart Skinner to keep winning.
Yep.
And just solidify, like passing. You look at the names that he's like passing Grant Fuhr's record and getting closer to the all-time. I think that's just there are moments that it's not equivalent to, but who's the pitcher they took out having a perfect game? Like you just
that happened to Kershaw.
Yeah. I feel that it's kind of like that in a way, where why mess with something that's so cool right now? And he's playing so good. And I said this too. I really see a change in his game. He's played great before, but he is starting to look like a guy, like a true NHL goalie. And that's a guy that withstands his team peppering the other goalie. Like, what was it, Vidar the other night, right? Vidar went nuts, and he was making unbelievable saves. For him to have the confidence and patience and to wait for his time and basically provide great goaltending, keeping his team in it, even though the other guy's looking like you're not going to be able to score on him that night. And the poise, how calm he is. He's starting to look a lot more like that guy that plays in Winnipeg than he even did from last year.
Yeah, and stay sharp. Like, how important is that? I mean, that's probably one of the most honest to goodness, maybe outside of quarterback. I'm thinking, everybody chime in here because I could be off base here. NHL goaltending is probably one of the most challenging positions in all of sport. Maybe a goaltender quarterback for sure.
I would say starting pitcher, no?
Football. Starting pitcher, though?
No.
Yes, you got to execute, but you have so many opportunities. I mean, you're going to throw 100 pitches. You're going to throw 90 pitches. Every 5 days, you're ready. We have starting pitching down. That's a conversation. Don't get me going on that because that's a conversation.
I wouldn't put any soccer players in there necessarily as much.
But the challenge of being a professional football goaltender, that might be one of the most hapless positions in all of sport. But being a goaltender in the NHL with the skills of those, is there a more challenging position in all of sport? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm a little bit biased, but the two that you mentioned before, you essentially are in control of your own team's offense.
Yeah.
The goalie isn't, right? So there's a huge distinction there. And you're part of the team, but you're almost on an island on its own, right? You're the hero or the goat in most cases, and it's such a fine line between winning and losing, and that what was the game? Martin Jones, like the dry setup, one little misstep, he relaxed for a few seconds because he thought, well, A, my D-man's in the way, he's probably going to block it, and 2, he's on his backhand. There's no way he's going to shoot. There's that little relax. I always tell goalies, you do not relax until that puck is on the other side of your blue line. Then you can kind of reset a little bit. But you just don't see that from Skinner. All these goals, the goals that he's allowed, are all goals that the other team has generated from generating a good chance against and executing.
So you mentioned offensive linemen before. When I watch an NFL football game, 90% of my time is watching the offensive lineman.
That's where I'm watching the play.
For me, it's the most important
thing.
thing.
If the pocket's collapsing or not. And then once the ball's released, then you kind of focus on where it's going.
The entire game is determined by offensive line efficiency, right? And I love working with those guys too. But I am really enjoying watching him play and mature like over the last couple of years. And he's in such a place. I would never, unless he is fatigued or there's something we don't know about, he's tired, has a cold, whatever, let him rock and roll, man. He's in a special place right now. He's in a place right now.
Like I said this before on two guys, like when he's been off and that first little week break or whatever, they're perfect because either way, someone's firing vulcanized rubber at you, right? To have that little bit of a break where you're not actually facing pucks when you hit the ice can be really valuable. I always found, especially when I started going to Europe, because there were certain points in the season where national teams would get together and go to tournaments, right? So you'd have usually about 4 or 5 days off in those time frames. So I would always come back, and the next game I was always really good, and it was because I just was fresh and not. I think he can play these next 2 games because he's going to get that break, and I don't think he'll lose a step.
No, I think he's going to just get better. I got this feeling just watching him progress over this last little while. And from a fan's perspective, man, it would be so cool to be in that room just to see how everybody's operating. But again, they have such a great performance team around those players. Like it's really cool to watch this whole thing happen. It's one of the most fascinating things in sport I've ever seen in my life. You look at the start of this team, the expectations at the start of this year. You look at the start. Connor has everybody come in early under sort of the captain's practices and stuff. And you want, okay, so there's some serious stuff going on. Horrific start, 8 games streak, couple losses, and now we're going into something that's just incredibly special. Has anything like this ever happened in sport? I mean, outside of Tiger and maybe the Williams sisters and
didn't they do the Moneyball?
Well, okay. Oakland A's were fascinating to watch. I was there, man. Like that was pretty cool to watch. But you're right; those 3 starters.
That was forgotten about in the movie.
Stop it! That you want to know
Brad
why?
Pitt didn't exactly talk about him bringing in Barry Zito.
No, you want to know why they were good? They had 3 number 1 starters day after day after day that you just couldn't beat. Couldn't beat.
So now, because I'm glad Cass at least is on my side with this, because I've got some sort of NHL. I've got a goalie here, and I've got a guy who's been strength and conditioning pros wise, and I'm just sitting here having played Madden and a Tecmo champion. What do I know? But okay, so how much of a impact is days off? Like, because he's getting this rest, you guys are saying, and he's going to be fine then the rest of the way. How big are then, like, a day off in January or December? Does that impact your season at all? Does that, like, is there not a tank that is being drained, and can it ever be fully refilled during a season? Like, is this bye week enough to fill the tank fully for Skinner to go the rest of the season with, because there'll be breaks, there's a lot of back-to-backs and stuff, so there will be some breaks, but be still fresh for the playoffs? Because the concern last year was Skinner, and why I'm okay with, like, hey, take this one off because it is only Chicago. Pickard can go win this hockey game. Is that, okay, you got that extra day of rest for Stuart Skinner, because we saw last year in the playoffs, he wore out, he got tired. But how important are then days off in the early part of the season, especially have a bye? Can that drain your tank, or can you, I guess, refill your tank mid-season?
No, this whole thing they talk about now, this load management thing, it's been happening since the beginning of sport. Since ancient Greece, they've had athlete management, load management. But that's the key now, right? This is the science, especially in today's world where we have so many metrics on the players. So even those metrics don't account for the mental fortitude of a player. Like, players can play in a fatigue state, but here's the deal. If the guys are prepared for the game, fatigue really shouldn't be a factor day after day after day after day. And the NHL actually has a pretty good schedule. There's a lot of recovery time in the course of a week. When you have a stretch of games, well, you prepare for that, right? But that's where coaching and athlete management comes in. So you may, I think, strategic off days for certain players over the course of a time. It's not so much one player's rest. It's managing the rest of your entire squad over a period of time. I think, just from everything we know about human physiology and recovery, but being prepared for the sport, I'm more fearful of off days than I am not getting off days. Off days can be an absolute disaster for a player's performance, man. In 24 hours, our body can sink from a fairly ready state into just a state of full rest and recovery. And to jump back, you don't jump back into a competitive state in 2 hours before a game and a warm-up, an early skate and a warm-up. You have to make sure that the athletes are constantly in a state of readiness, right? And even in our off days, it's active rest. It might be low, but it might be strategic. And that's just planning. So I'm not sure. Again, I don't know him personally, but when I've been over there, those guys have been in the gym. They're taking care of business behind the scenes. I don't think fatigue's a factor here. And if it's managed properly, I don't think it's going to be to the end of the season either.
I wonder, like...
Is that fair to say in your experience as a player?
Yeah.
Or am I off the mark?
I mean, physically speaking, I think you're hitting it right on the head. But mentally, let's face it, some games are more important to you than others.
Yeah.
When you're the underdog, when you're supposed to win, and when you're not supposed to win, there is a different mindset that you have going into the game. I always felt it was a lot easier to go into as an underdog, kind of, because you kind of got that competitive mindset compared to the ones that you're supposed to win. I've always found I'm supposed to win this, so I have to play well. You're almost, your focus goes away from the team that you're playing against to more inward. And I know there's some, we got to worry about ourselves, but I think that's kind of crap to an extent. You look at the way that the Oilers played last game, and everyone said, well, they didn't play their best and they looked a little sloppy. But they also had some real emotional games, like the one against the Leafs. Like that, it's like after an emotional game where you're playing your rival or another really good team and you win, there's that afterwards. It's you're excited, but there's always there's that little breath that you've accomplished this, then to get it back up for a team that maybe you just didn't get up for in the same way. That's looking at the Oilers' schedule. There's a lot more important games for a goalie to go. Like we're going to see some Vegas and Vancouver once more and LA. Those are going to be games where there's a little bit more heightened emotion beforehand. Those are the games where my heart was pumping a little bit more, right? And I wonder, because of the schedule that the Oilers have had this month, it's allowed Stuart Skinner to really be relaxed in here. There's not getting to this point where they're not comfortable, but now they're definitely back in the playoff picture. We talk about last year going through that run, like they had to have that run to make the playoffs, right? So, yeah, then this is what I'm talking about is, okay, you were at such a heightened level just to get to the playoffs. You got to the playoffs, you met your challenge, and then there was that little relax. I don't think it was
good point.
It was more so just that we did it. We got here. It wasn't get to the next level, and that's a learning thing for young players. He's done it his whole career, but not at this level. I think, and that's where I get back to he's looking like an NHL guy.
I love it.
Is because for lack of a better, the job isn't done.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I see from his play.
Yeah. Getting to the playoffs, winning the cup should be the end result and goal. That is just a fascinating thing. Because you know what? I think, again, going back to my experiences in pro sport, because it's just everything's so calibrated there, right? When we played that, we could not beat we were so superior to the Tampa Bay Rays at the time. We couldn't beat them. No. And I think that, but I think that's why. We'd play the Yankees and the Red Sox, and we're like, everybody's hyped up. Okay, we're at Fenway, we're at Yankee Stadium, where they're coming into Toronto, and it's going to be war. But then you have the team with the lowest payroll in the league coming in, and basically a AAA roster, and they would kick our butts every time. Yeah. And that has a lot to do with it, like levels of readiness, right? And that's one of the tricks of the trade, like being at that level of urgency. Like tonight, the Blackhawks, right? The level of urgency has to be there because these guys are so skilled, man. And if they can match that with this skill level, well, we're seeing it. They're unstoppable.
Well, I'm not saying they've done a great job of it 100%, so far.
For sure.
Right?
Agreed.
They've got it's evident with the way that they're playing. They're playing a solid defensive game. When in the past, they would just try to outscore their problems, right? They're very disciplined in their approach, but look no further than the last game against the Chicago Blackhawks. The Chicago Blackhawks, with their American Hockey League team, pushed them as far as they could do. That was the best that they could play, and it was a good game by them, right? But that's them knowing and going, we gotta bring our A game against these guys. That's what it was, you know. And I love it. It's a balance. I mean, if Edmonton matches their intensity level, of course, there's execution and hard work and stuff. They're going to kill them. They blow them out like the Vancouver Canucks did. Right. Yeah. That's what happened last night. I watched a little bit of that game. It was the Canucks were at the same level. They couldn't handle it.
Oh, and that's like sport. That's sports, man. That's sports performance at its finest. That's the psychology side, kind of, right? Love it.
So now, looking ahead and engage on two guys. You know, you mentioned the psyche of Calvin Pickard. Of if he loses, if he's the reason, or not the reason, if he's the one in net when the streak over, that could affect him moving forward. Could you not see it though, where if you're Calvin Pickard, do you not look? They're going to need Calvin Pickard down the stretch because there's again a lot of back-to-backs. He's going to need to play. You're going to need to get that rest for Stuart Skinner. If your coach doesn't look at you and go, "We got the Chicago Blackhawks in town on the back end of back-to-back where they just lost to Seattle, and I didn't trust you to go in net for this one." Would you not feel like, do you really trust me to go in net moving forward?
There's a little bit of that, but
it doesn't matter because he's the backup, and it doesn't matter fully his mentally where he's at there. It's about Stuart Skinner.
If it was a young guy, I'd be a little bit worried. It is. Don't get me wrong. This is a great moment in the schedule to put the other guy in to have it's almost catered to have success with the rest that the Oilers have had, but. And I'm not saying Pickard's going to go in and let in a bunch of softies and lose again. He could have a great game and lose 1-0, which could happen. But I just think, oh man, we had this streak going and I was the guy, and he's going to want. It's only natural. He's going to want to win his next start so bad, right? That's going to be his focus. That would be. I'm pretty sure anyway. Not just playing well, but winning the hockey game. And I just feel that if that were to happen, it takes a little bit of your yearly hockey soul away by losing that game and losing a streak that's pretty special.
Yeah.
See, and I don't care about the streak. I'll say it. This season's not about the streak. This season's not about individual awards. I think there's way too much focus from people talking about the streak. And no offense, but fans everywhere, it's always, the streak, got to keep the streak. I don't care. The goal is a cup this year. That's the goal. We're not going to look back on this year and be like, it was a successful year if the Oilers got knocked out in the second round or conference finals, because they had that streak. We're going to only look at how this season ends and go, was it a good season or was it not? And to me, if I'm Chris Knobloch, I'm just focused on that part. I don't care if the streak comes to an end tonight because I made a move that I think is best for the long-term success of the season as a whole. You would not be upset. He'd be upset by the loss. Don't get me wrong. But if people go, well, you shouldn't have played this goal instead of that one, and you cost the streak. I don't think Knobloch's going to be like, well, I don't care about this streak. Yeah. I think it'll be, is this best for this team for winning in the Stanley Cup playoffs when we get there? And I just feel like sometimes we look at the battle and not the war.
True. But I think also, make no mistake, if I'm not mistaken, looking at how this team is operating right now, there's some great conversations going on in that room.
Oh yeah.
Like these guys have sat down and they've talked about this, and they everybody's on board with the plan, whether it is, whoever's going to be in net tonight or what the plan is ahead of time. And maybe the plan was ahead of looking at the schedule. You're right. Maybe the plan was weeks ago to have a day off here, Skinner, here tonight. Maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't deviate off that plan personally, but who knows? We'll see. The Oilers practice, or their morning skate is 10:30. It doesn't look like it's an optional. They usually say if it's an optional or not, but so they're on the ice right away here. If in the next half hour or so we find out who's in net, I'll try to pass that along as well. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Jeff Krushell, Joaquin Gage with you here. That was Movers and Shakers brought to you by Marco Mike Realty, Realty One Group Insider, MarcoMike.com for more information. If you're looking to buy or sell your home. Nash saying terrible take. But then Norman a combine 100%, Maddie. Lord Stanley is the goal. The streak is the only part of the path to Lord Stanley. The streak to me, it's the gravy. If you can have the streak, but you get the cup, it just makes that season just a little bit better. I do want to go to the story of hockey yesterday, not a good way, which is what we're hearing with London police. 5 players asked to surrender to police due to sexual assault allegations and will be charged in 2018. There's a press conference Monday from London Police, which will update. But as a whole, how much soul searching does Hockey Canada need to do at this moment?
Oh boy, what a terrible, terrible mess. That this even happened. But I mean, we go back and look at Duke University, right? And their lacrosse team, and you go back and look at some of the football teams. This has happened over time. Yeah, it's very unfortunate it happened. There has to be a course correction here. And whatever that looks like, it's got to happen. It's too bad this happened in the first place. I don't know.
How does hockey fix this culture?
Education.
Yeah.
But it doesn't start when it starts young.
Yeah.
You have to have the uncomfortable conversations with all sports, because we see it in every kind of younger. Oh, you see it all over. But I mean, it was so avoidable, I think, with a little bit more education. I mean, this was a party after the World Juniors too that all this transpired in. Hockey Canada, I don't know what they have to do. I mean, this is a huge black eye. They just knowing that they kind of had assets to use to cover these things up was used for these types of situations is horrible to hear about. I mean, you look at now other leagues moving away from Hockey Canada. There's a lot of things that they have to do to put themselves in a better light, and I think it starts with them. There has to be initiatives that they start implementing with minor hockey to avoid this ever happening in the future, because I mean, this is a horrible situation, but the people involved now, it's not just the young woman and these players, it's their families, friends. This is it's ugly. I don't know how it moves forward, or what it does to these guys' careers, what their teams do after. It's this, and because it's, I mean, a lot of these players, they're integral parts of their team too, right? Like this is awful for them. So, and
it'll be simple. If charged and found guilty, they'll never play again. Yeah. They'll never be in the league again. There'll be jail time that's coming.
Yeah,
they'll just never see it. Charged and not convicted, then it becomes an interesting balance to see where it goes, because in the end, Hockey Canada did pay a settlement for this case. And why did you pay a settlement then? Right?
Yeah.
Like you could go that way. Why? It's
so layered.
You're in a situation like it's the OJ situation in the sense where there could be where some people will be like, well, not guilty, but he did it. Yeah. And there might be some because of the settlements. And I think we're past then the chance of civil suits or whatever, because of the settlement and things like that already. But it would be one of those where I think the public opinion will be, well, you guys kind of did this, even though the court didn't say so. And that will, because it is very difficult to convict sexual assault charges. And then it's why it's very rare for them to actually get to trial, because it is such a difficult thing to convict. There's a lot of unreported crimes and there's unconvicted crimes that have actually happened that just never have gone that far. So clearly London police believe that they have enough of a case to be able to proceed with this. But if charged and convicted, like they'll just never play again. Whoever is charged, and I'm not going to put names out there because we'll find. And Surveyor Brett, correct me, Monday, February 5th is when the London police will update. And also reminding the Heavy Hockey Showdown, which Edmonton Sports Talk is a part of, supporting the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton is now full, but you can still donate and come support us February 25th at the Downtown Community Rink. Team EST taking on Team Heavy Hockey. It's going to be a fun time out there, all in support of a really good cause.
Yeah. Wasn't it, was it, I mean, I went down that rabbit hole of on the internet reading about this yesterday, and I think the player's name is Leipzig. A few years ago, he was with the Capitals, I believe, and some of his texts were posted online.
Yeah,
just disparaging remarks about players' wives and them. What it said, I had to come in here or whatever. I was reading it again this morning, but he's playing in Russia now and basically it says he sent a letter to Vladimir Putin to ask for citizenship in Russia because he can't play hockey in North America, right? I mean, it's going to ruin some lives, which is it already has, but
there's a lot of federations in Canada that sporting wise that need to be fixed. I think we've had this chat with you before. We have. Baseball Canada though is doing really well, and they're like the model citizen right now in Canada. And everyone else just has their varying degrees for whatever reason of different reasons of why they're just a mess. Canada soccer's a mess just because they're a disaster and a mess in how they run things. I think figure skating Canada is dealing with an issue when it comes to a sexual assault. It's just we elevate athletes at a young age sometimes a little too soon. Then they believe that they're untouchable and they could do things, and that's where we need to. That's the cultural reset that needs to come.
Culture. That's a very important word in the education side. But if sport's gonna be such an integral part of our society, which it is everywhere in the world, not for everybody in society, but it's an important part of it all.
A large part of the city stopping to watch a hockey game.
Amen. Right? Exactly. So we can use that to help educate. But man, oh man, you got to think about the decision-making process in the first place. This is such a terrible layered story that unfortunately we're going to have to use as a launching pad for a better place.
Well, I would say I hope we do, right? Like it's one
we have to.
Where
it's not an option.
A terrible event occurred. I feel absolutely terrible for the victim. She's having to now relive this. Yeah. That's just awful. Her family, that's just terrible. But can we find that light in this darkness, in a sense, and use this as this happened, we can't change that part of it, but can we help use this to make sure we do whatever we can to that doesn't happen again, right? And I'm not naive enough to think that we're just going to eradicate it all as much. Like, it's not going to happen with a snap of a finger. It takes time. It's going to take years. One day, hopefully, we could get there at some sort of point. But can we take this to make sure that it's we've got to change. Is this going to be? We've got to use this to be the change, right?
Yeah.
And not wait for the next one to be like, this is going to be the change or something. We don't want to be talking about this 4 or 5 years from now. That there was another incident type thing. So hopefully those type of changes do come. And and we'll see. Like I said, thank you for Surveyor Brett letting me know that got the date wrong. February 5th, an update from London Police on that. No easy way to just transition to anything else. It's just very awkward. But F1 news today. Charles Leclerc
signed up for through till 2026, was it? So good for him. I mean, I want to see this this top of the grid kind of close the gap to Red Bull. They talked about, even Jenson Button put out a thing yesterday saying that he believes Mercedes is going to be the closest, even though they didn't win one last year. I don't know. I hate to say it, but I just think Ferrari might surprise some people this year. I think they always tend to end the season a little bit more on a high note, but I just hope it's a little bit more. See Max a little bit uncomfortable at the start.
Yeah, right.
I just would like to know that he's not going to win 90% of the races.
Yeah,
but even if it means the Red Bull car has some uncertainty and it breaks down once in a while, and he loses.
So just your mouse, and I think I've said this before, and talking about video games. So those keyboard and mouse guys, they're just they usually have the sensitivity up to like whatever the max. So the mouse, the mouse darts. Max Verstappen, his teammate was saying, well, at a time, it's not how Max. He's a difficult driver, but he gets the car in a place because he likes the front end to be as sensitive as that mouse.
Just calibrated at a different level?
Yeah. So it takes a while for other drivers, because sometimes some drivers don't like that as much. They like a little bit more flow, as they say. But for him, he wants that thing like just so sensitive so he can, every corner is just so much more difficult than, say, sometimes in a different car.
Yeah. So just abnormal enough to be superior to anybody else around him.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, though, if you look at that team, though, like, because it's a massive team that drives, just one of those drivers, the team behind that driver. Like, there's something special going on there, man. And I don't watch a lot of F1, but, I follow it a bit. But when I see, like, incredible things like this happening, I'm going, there's something special going on there. Like, seriously. So it would be really cool to get behind the scenes. And again, talking television, that's another great, I think, thing that's come around, is all these sort of inside looks, like the F1 sport, or the football behind the scenes, and the tennis one that's out now.
Yes, I gotta watch that one.
I watched the Tour de France one.
Oh, is it?
It's spectacular. It's like it's about the entire, you get to know the riders, but you get to see what actually goes on behind the scenes. But there is something special going on there until the other teams step up. Like, it's not that they can't be beat. It's just they're so far ahead of the other guys for some reason. They're hard to beat. It's the perfect scenario for a team in sport.
Yeah.
What makes F1 interesting, though, is that like we could look at, I think it's 2026 or 7 is the new car. Like you have to do new car specs every so often, and then that's when you would expect, okay, well, it's a brand new slate. Yeah. Like, there's no guarantee Red Bull's going to carry over this into there. Mercedes was dominant for how long, and then they haven't been able to figure this car out, or these specs.
Let's say we're on Mercedes or we're Ferrari or whatever. How is it possible we can't figure out why those guys are so much better than we are? Is it the drive? If it's the driver, okay.
I don't think it'd be driver, because you got Lewis Hamilton if you're Mercedes.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, how is it possible these guys are so much better? There's something special going on organizationally there. It's just like a team that's dominating in a particular sport, and that's why we watch the guys who are good. We watch the teams that are terrible, and we watch the guys trying to claw their way to the top to see what's going on. But they've got it figured out somehow. I mean, again, I don't know a lot about the F1 world, but I'm watching this. Dr. Jacques Dallaire, he's a mental training coach. He's on our show quite often. He's the guy for motorsports, like mental training. And I'm just telling you, these guys leave no stone unturned. So as much as we want to see these guys dethroned, it's up to the other teams to catch these guys, man. You got to catch them. There has to be a way. It's
great watching like some of the drivers like Lewis or Vettel when he was still around. Like, they'd go up and look at cars. The other teams, you can't touch it, but you'd see them just trying to inspect it, just trying to see what do they've got. Like, what's going on over here? What's going on? And trying to maybe pass info on to their engineers. Like, I saw this. Is there anything? It's all under secret.
Well,
And it makes it so fun to pay attention to.
when Checo crashed in Monaco, right? So the Red Bull car was so dominant, but they got to lift this thing, and it's up in the air. And the big thing was underneath, what was the aerodynamics? And you saw like Williams got put up, and it looked like this table, right? There might have been a little groove there. Red Bull was all different intricacies and air flows through to create that downforce. So everyone was like, well, geez, we gotta do something different. So everyone started changing. So
I love it, man.
Yeah, the evolution of the car is I find more almost as fascinating as the races at times.
Yep.
How these guys are developed. Like it's great.
See, here's the thing with Drive to Survive, because I didn't watch last season. I probably won't watch this just because I saw the season. I know what's going to happen.
February 26th.
Love it. February 26th. I would love if they focus more on the engineers and stuff. Now, I don't think they would ever let that, because they probably don't want to let any secrets out or something. But it would be fascinating to spend a season where we're following Mercedes and they're trying to figure, okay, well, this is what we got to change to the car, and sitting into those meetings.
That would
amazing.
be great. Yeah, just the whole engineering process. I mean, the F1 TV does a great job on Tech Talk, where they talk about all the different things that they put on the car and what's different between this one and that one and things. So I watch that too. I'm a weirdo, but
So it's pretty cool. Leading up to the Vancouver Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And you guys got me thinking about this again. But Canada had a top secret program. A top secret.
Was it top secret?
Top secret.
Because I know there's Own the Podium. I guess it's not Own the Podium.
No, this was an Own the Podium, I think, supported program.
It's in that back corner, no one knew about. There's that office always was dark.
But listen, it was seriously top secret. And I tried to get into it. There was no cracking.
Really?
And it was like the bobsled technology. It was like the ski technology. It was like the clothing technology. These guys were going the distance for Vancouver. And it was awesome. And I still don't know when it went on behind the scenes. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get back into it because they'll talk about it now. I will find out.
Okay,
but there was a top secret program, and that's what these guys were looking at. Can you imagine? I wonder how much money Red Bull puts into just tire composition. Like listen, and I know there's parameters that they put and stuff, but there's nanotechnology now. If these guys, I mean, who knows what's going on? I guarantee there's some special cool stuff going on there, just like we did. Like, you know, I met with some swimmers yesterday, the up and coming swimmers, and we were just talking about the history of swimming. Mm-hmm. And these are 13 and 14-year-old swimmers who are they're in the lane. They're kind of now approaching that high performance pathway. So it was a real cool conversation with them and their parents. And we were just talking about Rome, the FINA championships in Rome. What was it? Like the late 90s or early 2000s when Speedo introduced the Razor suit, and 54 world records fell in Rome, not because of superior physical conditioning, but because of the technology. And that's where FINA had to say, okay, man, we got to put restrictions on the amount of coverage a swimmer can have with this new technology, right? Like we see it in golf too. Like, can you imagine the technology that goes into F1 though? Come on. Like,
I want to say the 2010 Olympics, I think one of the legacies will be that really was the launch pad for, I feel like, and go correct me if I'm wrong, us becoming a sporting nation.
100%.
Because Own the Podium came, we focused on the Olympics. We had our best Olympics, winner. We won just so many gold medals. The next Summer Olympics, I think we only won one gold medal, but now we're going into the Paris expecting multiple gold medals. We've seen Bianca Andreescu go win a singles title. We've seen the growth in tennis. We've seen the growth in basketball. We've seen the growth in so many other sports. And it feels like the launching pad was we got the Olympics in Vancouver, and we realized we wanted to grow sports in Canada.
Yep. There's no doubt. And you can go back and watch the announcement. I think it was Salt Lake City, right? They announced Canada, Vancouver for 2010. It was a fundamental, epic change in attitude towards competitive sport in the world. It wasn't, hey, everybody gets to compete. It was, no, we're going to train our butts off. We're going to really apply sports science. And you know what? For the young athletes who need that international experience, you're going to get that. But for the big for the big competitions, the World Championships and the Olympics, Commonwealth Games, you're not going unless you legitimately could stand on that podium. It was a fundamental change in mindset for Canada, and it's paid off.
It's been a great legacy because it's still going on.
And that sports science, the trickle-down effect is now, long ago, it's now well into the developmental ranks. And you could see it in our basketball program. You could kind of see it impacting our soccer programs, baseball for sure. I mean, there's no question about it. And so it's there and it's coming. I mean, even for some of the sports like the Nordic sports and Alpine, it's all happening for sure. There's no question, Maddie.
It's that secret room.
That
it was whatever's happening in that
so
secret
much
room.
fun, man. That was every house had that on 24/7, right? Every place you could drive down and you can see someone's big TV. Olympics was on.
Yeah.
It was cold, so everyone was inside for those 2 weeks. And it was so cool because it seemed like the country just went like we were all neighbors at that point, right? But I remember one of the proudest moments of that whole Olympics of me being Canadian was I forget who it was. It was a high end like U.S. sports anchor. And he was doing an interview right by the flame and stuff. And he went into goes, this has been an experience unlike no other. I can't believe the unity of this country. The only thing that it reminds me of is America after the Second World War. And that is what I feel from this country right now. And he was kind of giving it to the U.S., saying we're so divided in our country. We need to look at this experience and become more like Canadians. And I was like,
I'm a little verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves.
I was like,
seriously, I love it. Yeah. Oh, I got goosebumps.
I never got to Vancouver for that, but it felt like I was in this Olympic city.
Yes.
Like it felt like this Olympic spirit swept the nation, and we were all in the Olympics. It wasn't Vancouver hosting as much as Canada hosted.
Yeah.
Vancouver, though, really did. They did an amazing job. F1, February 5th is the first car launch, Williams.
Yeah.
As well as Sabre, and then Alpine on the 7th, and then it goes from there. We're 37 days, 17 hours, 41 minutes, and 1 second away from the Bahrain Grand Prix.
I love it.
Oh, it's testing.
Testing is Feb 23rd.
Yeah.
So I can't find a countdown clock for that. I only could find for the first race. So just a little over a month from the first race, but testing coming up in less than a month.
Crazy.
And from our very own Tom Gazzola down at the rink, Calvin Pickard working in the starter's net at Oilers morning skate. Looks like he'll get the nod against the Blackhawks as the Oilers seek their 15th straight victory. So
there we go. Interesting.
That's where it's going.
Is it Pickard or Picard? I wish it was Picard because I'm a Next Generation fan. I like he's the captain of the ship here. Anyway.
You didn't want him to be the captain, though. You wanted him to sit on the bench.
Well, no, but I was saying, but maybe, like again, but maybe this has been part of the plan forever. Like maybe this has been, hey guys, and maybe everybody knew. Okay, all right, let's go.
I would also think that, like, if anyone is saying about the streak, I would think that in that room, they don't care. They feel so good about themselves right now that this is, Stuart Skinner. I also think maybe part of this is that the game's at 2:00 on Saturday, and you're going to have to maybe, like, I know it's 2 days away, but really, it's an earlier start on Saturday, so it's a quick turnaround. Like, it's closer to a back-to-back than being an actual back-to-back, that they knew, okay, we've got to separate our goalies here and just planning it however it is. But they also just feel no matter what we put out there, we have a really good chance to win.
On the media avail after the last game, though, I mean, you could hear it multiple times. Hey, we're going to lose games. We're going to lose games. These conversations are going on in the room, man. These guys are locked in. Again, just in sport, Oilers fan, of course, but just as a guy in sport, like my world is sport, watching this happen is just, it's incredible, you guys. And now a change of goalie tonight, potentially, right? That's going to be as fascinating to watch. Like, I mean, is it even going to break the stride of the team? Probably not. So. Maybe they're going to up their game to make sure they get a win for that goalie, right? I mean, there's so many factors. It's just so great to watch.
What I think really helps the Oilers tonight, though, is it's not that the Blackhawks coming in on back-to-back. It's not that they're a younger team and all that. It's the fact that they played them earlier this month and had the scare.
Yeah.
And now they know, this team could catch us.
You're
This
right.
team might be able to grab us tonight. They just did it a couple weeks ago. They need our best. We got to come out, put them away.
I love sport.
You know,
Yeah.
and that I think might
And that's
help
part of
them.
that preparation, you think, although you're playing the Blackhawks, go, look, these guys almost beat us last time. So there is a little bit more of the mental preparation to make sure that they keep going.
Yeah. Fun. Such fun. I can't wait for puck drop. Let's go. Honestly, I'm enamored with this one for sure.
What do you have coming up next for next little while? Because you're out in Toronto for a little bit. And
Really cool things. Well, we just kicked off our annual Wednesday. This last show, we announced our official theme for 2024 in the Crush Performance, which is perception. And I'm actually really excited about this because perception is a big monster topic, but again, I kind of say it in there. I think it's like one of the fabrics which sport performance is weaved, right? And that perception is so important. So that's going on. And I'm really passionate about this one, Maddie. I've got a trip going out to Ottawa for Baseball Canada again here. We're really trying to look at ways.
What's in Ottawa? Like, is it just a meeting?
Baseball Canada, yeah.
Their head office?
Yeah, their head office is there. Yeah. So I've got that going on. And then we've got Major League Baseball. Our academies for Major League Baseball are kicking off again. So Curacao, Puerto Rico are starting up. So we'll be looking at that as well.
Crush Performance is 7 o'clock right here in Edmonton Sports Talk. CrushPerformance.com for a lot more information on Jeff Krushell. Pitwall Nasty gives me testing 36 days.
Yeah.
13 hours and change. So that's the official timing for that.
official time.
And then actually, when's pitchers and catchers?
Mid-February, it's coming up.
Really?
Oh, we're launching up.
And it always feels like it's sooner.
Yeah. It'll be a couple weeks from now. I don't know what the date.
I'm trying to get the countdown.
Every team will be a little different.
I got the spring training countdown, 19 days.
19
11
days.
hours, 6 minutes, 48 seconds.
Pitchers and catchers, baby. Let's go.
Feb 14 are announced by 18 teams that are reporting on February 14th. The Dodgers on the 9th and the Padres on the 11th have recently announced earlier reporting dates. So, I don't know when that is.
How much time
but
do we
it's
have
just
left?
a couple minutes.
Man, shoot.
Do you ever get down to Grapefruit League? And,
I do.
What's that like? What is it?
Listen, even if you're not a fan of baseball,
It looks like
you
a
will
blast.
you will become a fan of baseball because it's right there. Everything's so tight. These are smaller ballparks. You got the old players signing cards up front. The veterans are there. There's Hall of Famers. The player, you can go watch batting practice. You can go watch the morning workouts.
Yeah.
The stadiums are open if you get a ticket. Right? It's fantastic. Grapefruit League, Cactus League.
I was in Arizona last January. And we drove by the facility, I think for the Dodgers and stuff. And you looked into, I just want to be there.
Yeah.
We came a month and a half too soon, because it'd just be you just go walk in the afternoon and go watch a ball game.
It is,
and they're just in the most they're just in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I like the idea of getting to a big league game and the changes going on in Toronto, guys. I got actually pictures. Did I send them to you?
You sent me a video and stuff.
We've got a ballpark now in Toronto.
Oh, really?
The actual layout, the imprint, it's totally changed from what it was last year.
But there's not going to natural grass, are there?
No.
Because that was initially a look. I think Chaparro wanted to look at how could you get that there, but that now has been turfed, hasn't it?
They can't guarantee the quality of the turf. See what he did there? But if I were going to recommend somebody, do I go to a midseason game or do I go? I would say get to a spring training game. You get to see the young up and coming players too, but you get to see the vets come out and just do their thing. Oh, it's great.
You could hit a couple games in a day.
Yeah.
Because the parks are all so close together.
Yeah.
You even go for a couple of innings, 6 innings.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go walk away, go do something, then go to the late game over there. And it's just
$20, $25 for a game.
That sounds
spring training.
great.
Cactus or grapefruit?
No, either.
I would take grapefruit over. I would take cactus over
It
grapefruit.
depends if you want golf clubs or beach, because Florida has the best beaches in the world. St. Pete Beach, Clearwater Beach, the best. There's nothing like it in the world. You want to golf? Go to. There's great
I'll
golf
take
in
the golf.
Florida too.
I'll take the golf.
Yeah.
I'll take the golf.
Yeah, you're going to Cactus League.
Playbook saying, hey, gents, just want to say best hangout in weeks. Thanks for entertaining me on my drive to Slave Lake. And then that Hobbit place I was mentioning is in Alberta, just south of Three Hills.
Yes.
Really?
So maybe we'll book a spot there. Maybe we'll bring the
Hobbit
hangout there and
Town,
stuff and go hang out where Bilbo Baggins lived. It would
we
be
have
amazing.
to do a baseball. You guys, we have to do a baseball hangout. Honestly.
Oh, okay. We will. That's a great idea.
What teams you watch? Because I'm building my list.
Yankees.
Teams, players.
Juan
to
Soto,
see-
baby.
to see how-
Dodgers. Dodgers would have to be one because you bring in Yamamoto. What does Ohtani do this year? He's obviously just hitting. How does he perform there? they have to win the World Series.
They have to.
If you don't,
This is going to be so
you've
great.
done all this.
Yes,
so,
and I want to watch Minnesota or the Rays or Baltimore totally upset the boat with at $75 million payroll. The Mets last year were 23 million, the highest payroll in the history.
And by June, we knew they lost.
they were 30 games back.
It's incredible. Well, that's a great. We will do a baseball.
I love
hangout.
it, man. There's so many storylines this year.
2 guys and a goalie. You, Cass, Dusty. Lots to talk about. Oilers looking for 15. Blackhawks in town. And Stuart Skinner not getting the start in at Kelvin Pickard, it looks like. So lots for you guys to discuss. And you guys are reunited with Dustin. So
Yeah.
you ready for that?
Let's hope so.
Jens, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks,
Joaquin
guys.
Gage, Jeff Krushell, Crush Performance, 7 o'clock, EdmontonSportsTalk.com or crushperformance.com for more information. I'm Matt Iwanyk. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout. Like I said, 2 guys and goalies at noon. Up next, it's the Lock Shop with Dusty and Huss as they'll get you set for the night in sports and give you their best bets for this evening. Thanks once again for tuning in here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Just in a few minutes, it will be the Lock Shop. Enjoy that. Enjoy the Oiler game later tonight.